There are bathing pools on the summit of Sigiriya. I remember standing beside one, a small lagoon cut straight into the rock 200 meters above the plain, and realizing that 15 centuries ago, a king had water carried all the way up here so he could swim above his kingdom. I've been to Sri Lanka before. It's an island roughly the size of Nova Scotia, and it holds 8 UNESCO World Heritage Sites and a written history running back more than 2,000 years. That density, that much packed into that little space, is why we've built this trip, and it's why I'm going back. We'll begin in Colombo, on the west coast, and then travel north into the dry zone plains, an area known as the Cultural Triangle, where the island's old royal capitals sit within an hour or two of one another. From there, we climb into the central Highlands. Kandy with a K is first, and then onward by mountain railway through the tea estates to the town of Ella. We'll descend to Yala on the dry southeast corner, and then follow the southern shore west through Ahangama and Gaul, finishing up back near Colombo. 16 days, that's roughly a loop covering plains, then peaks, and finally the south coast. Some of the drives are a bit long, but that's the price of a country this varied, and it's one well worth paying. Before I get into it, just a quick word about how this trip came to be, because this is a brand new program. And before we even opened it, Amber, who's our chief operating officer, flew out and traveled the entire route herself. Every hotel, every restaurant, every road. We tested it before we ask you to take it. That's how we build pretty much all of our trips. We just don't say it often enough. It's partly why our first 2 hotels are at the Gaul Face Hotel. Open since 1864, one of the oldest hotels east of the Suez, where a piper lowers the flag on the ocean lawn every evening at sunset. Most tours don't stay in places like that. We went and made sure of it. Here's a fact worth sitting with. In the sacred city of Anuradhapura grows a fig tree that was planted in 288 BC, the oldest tree on Earth with a documented planting date. It isn't fenced off as a curiosity. Pilgrims come every day, as they have for more than 2,000 years. That's the Cultural Triangle in a sentence. These aren't ruins, they're places still in use. At Dambulla, 5 cave temples are cut into a single granite hillside, their ceilings painted and repainted, layer over layer for 20 centuries. At Mintale, where Buddhism first arrived on the island, a monk will offer our group a blessing beneath the bo tree, followed by a few minutes of quiet. And then Sigiriya. There's a total of around 1,200 steps to overcome, but we'll take it slowly, past frescoes of court women and a wall once polished to a mirror shine. At the top, the foundations of a palace, the view running for miles, and those grand pools I still think about. We'll finish the chapter at Polonnaruwa, the medieval capital, where 4 Buddha figures are carved from one continuous wall of granite. Up close, the stone looks almost liquid. Lunch that day is going to be a farmer's spread at the edge of the rice paddies. 30 curries, give or take. Take a little of everything, which is the whole point. As we climb toward Kandy, everything changes. The air cools, the plains give way to ridgelines. Kandy was the last Sinhalese kingdom to hold out against the Europeans. It didn't fall until 1815. Its temple holds what is believed to be a tooth of the Buddha, and for centuries the rule was simple. Whoever held the tooth held the right to rule the island. We'll join the morning ritual there. The relic stays hidden, but the devotion doesn't. Then, higher still into tea country, and the story here is stranger than you'd think. These hills were coffee until a fungus wiped out the entire crop in the 1870s, and the planters, many of them Scots, switched to tea. We'll walk into the rows of a working estate founded in 1841, pick leaves alongside the pluckers, and see the factory floor. Then, high tea in Nuwara Eliya, a hill town so thick with mock Tudor houses, the British called it Little England. And then, the centerpiece of the day, the train to Ella. It threads through tea slopes, tunnels, and cloud forest, and it's often named among the great rail journeys anywhere. Find a seat by an open window, and the next morning we'll ride tuk-tuks out to the Nine-Arch Bridge, built in 1921 when wartime steel ran short, so the engineers used brick, stone, and mortar instead. A century on, the trains still cross it. Sri Lanka has no tigers and no lions, which means the leopard sits alone at the top of the food chain, and the Sri Lankan leopard, a subspecies found nowhere else, has grown larger and bolder for it. Yala National Park records the highest density of leopards anywhere on Earth, roughly 1 for every square kilometer. We'll go in twice, once in the late afternoon and again at first light, when the animals are most active and the low sun sits gold over the scrub. Leopards are still leopards though, and I won't promise you one, but we'll also be watching for elephants, sloth bears, crocodiles, and some of the richest bird life in Asia. Earlier in the trip, we'll take an evening safari among the wild elephant herds near Minaria, following them wherever the trackers find them. And on the drive south, we'll stop at a family home to see how the region's buffalo milk curd is made. Set in clay pots, eaten with a drizzle of kitul palm treacle. Simple and very good. For those who want one more wild card, there's an optional morning at sea off Mirissa, where the continental shelf drops away close to shore, and blue whales, the largest animals that have ever lived, pass through. The ocean keeps its own schedule, but the chance is real. By the second week, this trip deliberately slows down. 3 nights on the southern shore at Ahangama, surf country, palm-lined sand, and here and there a fisherman perched on a wooden stilt driven into the shallows, angling the way his grandfather did. There's a full free day. Spend it however you like, including not at all. From there, it's a short run along the coast to Galle, where the Dutch built the largest fort Europeans ever raised in Asia. 36 hectares of ramparts, and inside them a working courthouse, an old Reformed church, a lighthouse facing the Indian Ocean, and lanes of small shops worth an unhurried wander. That evening, we'll gather on the cliffs at Weligama for a farewell dinner timed to the sunset. And on the final day, a considered finish. Lunuganga, the country garden of Geoffrey Bawa, a lawyer who gave up law, bought a rubber plantation in 1948 and spent 50 years turning it into a landscape that opens one view onto the next. He went on to design much of modern Sri Lanka, including its parliament. This was his private laboratory. We'll walk it, we'll have lunch there before returning to Colombo for a last night together. 1 island, 16 days, and 25 centuries within reach of a single loop. We'll travel it the way Wheel and Anchor always does. A small group of curious Canadians, a route we've walked ourselves, and enough time in each place to actually be there, not just pass through. I hope you'll join us in Sri Lanka.